the middle of the day. It's gonna get hot really quick. This is one of my new favorite filming spots because around this headland you can always find a place that's guarded from the wind, one way or another, just about. And that means that I can film while I'm looking at the ocean in all directions and surrounded by nature, salt water, without worrying about anything else. It's also a fairly private spot. Like, I can see people in all directions, but my little bubble of self-consciousness, it's not affected when I'm here. I'm not expecting anybody to walk into my personal space. So yet another just perfect discovery. And I think the reason that I keep making these discoveries is because I'm not settling. I'm not just finding something that works and sticking to it. Like, I'm constantly trying something new, even if I've already got a really good way to do something. And that goes for everything in my life right now. At first it seems ridiculous, like, why would you waste so much time and energy? Even saying the word waste felt wrong then, because it's like the return on investment for what I've been doing has been so incredible. For those who are new, this is my video journal. It's not intended to be advice or guidance. I'm just expressing what I'm thinking and feeling in the present moment. And how embarrassing would it be if there's a little bit of wind kind of like spiraling around in here, if this was like the windiest journal audio-wise that you've ever heard. But I've even let go of trying to control that, because some of the journals that I've done, I've thought there's no way I'm going to be able to publish this. It's just going to be all wind noise. And that turned out not to be true. And that's another example of trying things out even when I've got a way that works. The best way I've found to record video journals to get quality audio visuals is in the car. The car is the most soundproof place to record. It's the most private place to record. It's the most consistent place to record. You're going to get a similar result every time. Fun fact to throw out there, a lot of the Big Les Show sound effects and voices were recorded in the car for that same reason. So I learned that from Jared. Haven't really used it that much because in the car in Australian summer, or even Australian winter, which is like summer anywhere else in the world probably, it's not the most fun thing in the world. So you got to find like a nice shady spot, and there's always variables, right? You always like think that you've got this perfect solution to something, and even if you do find a perfect solution to something, or a perfect way to do whatever it is that you're setting out to do, I find that circumstances change. Like, an example straight off the bat is, in winter you could record in the car, in summer it would be horrendous. So like, summer comes around, what am I going to do now? I've got to find somewhere cool to record. But like I said, this isn't just in one area of my life. I've been experimenting in every area of my life. Like, I'm showing up to work differently pretty much every single shift. I'm looking for some kind of way that I could approach things differently, see things differently, different ways that I could interact with people. And I'm just constantly, and I want to articulate this clearly so that other people can like really get the insight that I'm trying to share. So I'm not trying to find the best way to do anything. I've completely let go of that. I'm not trying to be the best at making video journals like this. Like, I'm not trying to get the perfect like soundproof solution with no wind and perfect clear audio visuals, perfect lighting. I'm actually like not even interested in that. I'm just trying out a bunch of things and seeing what happens. And anybody who's ever had an amateur interest in photography, or any interest in photography, if you've played with cameras and you've been trying to figure out how to take a photo really well, did you decide on a bunch of different things, or did you watch a bunch of tutorials and think this is how to take the perfect photo, and you went out and tried to take the perfect photo? Maybe you did. I did. I've tried it both ways. But then that's not very effective. What's effective is when you just go out with a camera and you play with it, and you take photos where you're expecting a dud result. You're expecting that the photo is not going to be very good. And then you surprise yourself, right? And in those surprises, that's when you learn the most, because it's not only like, oh wow, that's really unexpected, but that unexpectedness, that surprise, is very stimulating. Like, we often hear about all of this, you know, we're addicted to our phones because it gives us a dopamine response, or whatever's going on in your brain that's keeping you addicted. Like, I think you can also get addicted to learning, but we're not, because we're staying so safe in our comfort zones that we don't want to even rearrange the furniture in our room. Like, we just want everything to stay the same because we're familiar and it works, and we're all living in like really elevated levels of fear and anxiety, paranoia, depression. Like, we're not keen to experiment and play games with reality. But when you try something and it works and you didn't expect it, that particular feeling, I would say, is got to be similar to like these feelings that we're chasing. I feel that I'm chasing that feeling now. Like, I love to surprise myself, or for reality, life to surprise me. For me to go out one day and just think, maybe this won't work, but it's okay. And then at the end of the day, I'm like, that is the most incredible thing that I've ever created or captured or witnessed, or the most incredible relationship just formed, like all these possibilities. Like, I get so much more amped and excited about something that I didn't plan to happen. And that's like getting into like spiritual territory, like grace and like faith, like just having faith that these kinds of things can occur on their own. Like, and actually they're more likely to occur if you stop trying to control every little dial and control on reality. Like, just let it go a little bit and allow reality to play with you, instead of you trying to manipulate life into being whatever you think it's supposed to be. Which, again, like, even if you're not experimenting with like the way that you're interacting with reality, even just experimenting with the way that you're thinking about reality could be groundbreaking for so many people if you haven't allowed yourself to do that. Because first of all, the way that you're thinking about reality it's absolutely prerequisite to what you actually manifest in reality. And I'm not using manifest in some new age principle here. Like, you're creating your reality by the way that you think about life. Like, if you're thinking everybody's angry and hostile all the time, you're only going to ever interact with anger and hostility. Like, as absurd as it sounds, as you begin to experiment with your own perception of reality, and you start to try things differently, you will notice shifts, and you will notice like things aren't as concrete as you thought they were. And they're definitely not as concrete as we were programmed to believe that they are. And, you know, there's this huge absurdity in our culture that this is a groundbreaking discovery. Imagine that you grew up actually allowed to become an individual, like to really explore your own individual freedom and expression. And you already intuitively, not even intuitively, you just inherently, like, it's more than intuitively. Intuitive's like you kind of had to have some kind of input to, or something had to happen, like, you know, but you just inherently, like, it was in the fabric of your being that everything isn't concrete. Like, the material world of reality is not reality. It's the result, it's the effect of the things that are going on inside of us. Like, it's a projection. And, you know, so we've got these two polarities playing out when we're talking about this kind of stuff, because on the one hand, I've got somebody watching this who's thinking of it, they're still thinking of it with the old lens. They're trying to understand, like, how is it a projection? How is this working with my old model of reality? And then you've got people that have actually successfully pulled apart that old model of reality that you're programmed with, and they're like, oh yeah, so I can see the freedom here and I can understand it, but like, it's still like, it's not compatible with the old programming and reality and what everybody else is doing. Like, I don't know how to have relationships anymore because people don't understand what the hell I'm talking about, so I feel so alone. What am I going to do? And then that's why you end up watching something like this and talking to the other people that are in this community, because there is a whole bunch of nonsense out there it's probably created unintentionally by people that are still in the old paradigm of like and heavily programmed and heavily like, we're in the material world, reality's concrete, it's objective, I can expect the same result as you if we went through the same day. And then there's people that have fully like grasped it to be, you know, untrue. So like there's a lot of nonsense out there that's probably not, some of it probably is intentionally created because you can profit from confusing people and sending them into a tailspin of not understanding reality so that you can keep selling them back the answers to the questions that you're giving them. But yeah, there's a moment in time where you've got to actually allow yourself to be the arbiter, is that the word? Like the architect of your own reality. Like you get to be the one that's the central point of contact. Like you're not taking any projections on from outside of yourself, no information, and like it's still valid to listen to teachers and mentors and experts, and we'll never stop doing that. But like you need to double check it all. Like you need to use your own empirical study to like play with reality, and that can lead to negative unforeseen consequences. Like you could totally lose touch with reality by pulling all these pieces apart and putting them back together again and questioning everything, and have you go through these existential crises and like all that stuff, which actually makes you more vulnerable and susceptible to being like sort of co-opted by those people that I was talking about, who are selling you the questions to sell you the answers and keeping you entrapped in these games of nonsense, which the psychedelic community is one of those, which I've recently highlighted. But even when I highlighted it, like I feel like it wasn't even that received. Like people are so in their program that they're just like, oh yeah, Kai's just decided that drugs are bad, and like they just go on believing whatever they want to believe. But there's no power in that. There's power in truth. Truth is not reality. Reality is, you can create anything in your internal reality, in your internal perception of life. You can decide anything, and then you can actually use that that creation inside of you, that internal creation, to achieve external results, because you start, if you're looking for opportunity, then you see the opportunity everywhere. If you're looking for a fight, you're going to feel like everybody wants to fight. You're going to find conflict everywhere that you go. This is a very fundamental, simple thing to grasp. But I think some of the things that are the most simple, we don't grasp them because we're like, there has to be something more profound than this. But profundity is simple. Profound is not this big, complicated, complex knowing of the universe where all the dots connect in a single moment and you have this epiphany and you understand it all, and oh, it's too complicated for me to explain it to you. That, if you ever see that, that's the lie. The truth is simple, and the truth is something that you are able to get closer to by doing this very exercise that I begun this video with, like experimenting with things and trying stuff out, because you got to, the reason that you do this is because you don't know. I don't know how to make a perfect video. I don't know how to interact with somebody in the best way possible. And even if you, like I said, even if you do figure out the best possible outcome, or the best way to produce the best possible outcome, circumstances change, life changes, people change, everything's in constant flux. So the only logical step from there is to never know, like to constantly be playing with reality. And it doesn't mean that you're just going to throw out everything that you learn as you go. Like I'm not sort of going, okay, I know a bunch of successful ways to produce this outcome, I'm just going to disregard all of that and try something that might not work. Like I'm learning as I go, and I'm sort of tweaking and playing and rearranging. I'm not just like it. I don't know why I'm trying to defend it. Like you learn by not knowing. You can't learn if you know. There's the profound, simple thing, right? Like I said all this stuff, like blah 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 blah. It's like trying to make this profound statement. There it is. I just said it. I can't even remember what I said. I can't learn anything if I don't. I can only learn something if I don't know. If I know, then I can't learn. That is the insight that I would like to share with you today, and it took me an entire journal to come up with that simple statement. But there's value in this explorative self-reflection as well. Like there's a reason that I'm doing this, and it's supercharging my own inner exploration and growth. If you get anything out of these journals, please pass them on to anybody else you know who may benefit. Subscribe if you haven't already, and leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what's going on inside of you, your thoughts and feelings in the present moment. And I'm gonna have to run because it's getting windy and rainy real quick.